Welcome to Quantum Revenue Expansion, where we keep you motivated, inspired, and thinking big. Up-leveling into quantum revenue is a choice that we can all make in any moment, and then continue to make that choice to stay in that space each day. On this podcast, Ursula will share revenue growth strategies to reach your next level and introduce you to CEOs just like you who are making it happen. What's your next quantum leap going to be? See it, own it, and take that first step. If this is you, then Ursula wants to invite you to join us at the next 2X Intensive now. Go to salescoachnow.com/apply. You are listening to Quantum Revenue Expansion with your host, Ursula Menchez. Let's go.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Quantum Revenue Expansion, the podcast. I'm so excited for you to be joining us today. You're going to love our guest. We have Maureen Mwangi with us today, and we're going to be talking about, listen to this, making your first million as a product-based entrepreneur, how to bust through the multi-six-figure ceiling to seven-figure success. Maureen, welcome to Quantum Revenue Expansion.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here today.
I'm excited because we talk about service-based businesses a lot, and we do talk about, product growth, to some extent. We've never had an expert here in this space. So I'm really excited about what's going to come from this. And to our listeners, definitely grab, as I always say, your journal and a piece of paper or something and a pen, because you're going to want to take some notes. Grab your favorite beverage. I got my tea chino. I was just telling Maureen I quit caffeine. That's a whole other conversation. I don't recommend doing it cold turkey, but we can talk about that some other time. I'm doing great now. Let's just say that. All right. So before we jump in, to our listeners everywhere, just thank you so much. I know this is, we were talking about this last week. It's just a challenging time in the world, and sending so much love to Ukraine and to those Russians who I know are being deeply impacted. And of course, all the other things that are happening in the world in wars, Ethiopia, Yemen, all kinds of places, and to not forget those as well. So I know this is just weighing heavily on the minds of CEOs. If you're not in our Facebook group yet, we just posted a bunch of different resources. So you can find Quantum Revenue Expansion and join us there. We're having a conversation about this and just really how to hold your space, how to contribute, how to make a difference. And also, as a CEO, how do you keep going? And so if you're looking for support, come and hang out with us there. And we'll have that in the show notes as well. I think that's all I'm going to say about that today. I really want to get started with this conversation. And Maureen and I are here to inspire you today. Maybe you already have a product-based business. Maybe you've been thinking about one. Maureen, I've got ideas. I've been thinking about a lot of product. I've always had an idea, and then I'd have another idea. And I've been interested in that. And I know, so I'm curious. I'm just curious about all the things you say. So let me tell you, listeners, about Maureen. She is the brand growth strategist behind some of America's most beloved brands, like L'Oreal, Chobani. Am I saying that correctly? That's the yogurt company, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Dove and Lay's. I love their sour cream potato chips, and their sour cream and onion. Those are my favorite. She is the creator of Big Brand Academy, the Product Profit Lab, which I think is the shirt you're wearing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Startward Consulting. Am I saying that correctly? Startward?
Yes.
Okay, good. Startward Consulting, a consulting firm dedicated to teaching product-based entrepreneurs the sales and marketing strategies they need to scale with, listen to this, scientific precision, so they can turn their product brands into household names. Maureen's zone of genius is her rare ability to connect with a market and turn real data into brand growth strategies that drive multi-million-dollar growth. Her nonprofit, this is so cool, the Taji Foundation, supports boys in Kenya to get the education they need to lift their families out of poverty and build generational wealth. And we love talking about that here because we all know, as CEOs, we get to vote with our dollars. When I say vote with our dollars, I mean, you get to put it into the nonprofits you care about. You can start your own nonprofit. You can just make an impact wherever you want to. And so we're really committed to, helping CEOs make the most amount of money you want to make. What's your number? And then what are you going to do with it? Make a difference in the world. So let's just jump in, Maureen. Let's start by, we want to hear your story. Mm-hmm. What brought you into this world, and what do you love about it?
Gotcha. So I actually say my entrepreneurship journey started at the dinner table at the age of 14. I grew up in a family where both my parents were product-based entrepreneurs, and they actually are the only entrepreneurs that I did see that had a ton of success.
Wow.
And so because of that success, I became acutely aware of what entrepreneurship provided when it came to financial freedom, personal freedom, and really just elevating not only our family, but also our family members to be able to achieve what it is that they wanted. And so halfway through the journey of building their business, my parents really struggled with marketing, sales, and really what it takes to actually scale a business. And I couldn't understand what was so difficult about it. And so that influenced my decision to actually pursue a bachelor's degree in finance, because I thought it was a financial issue, but I actually realized it wasn't a financial issue, it was more of marketing and branding. And how do you really create a breakout brand in a highly saturated market, especially when globalization started happening? Because it was so easy for Kenyans to travel to China and bring in any product into the market, which wasn't done before. And so I decided to come over to the US and pursue a master's in marketing analytics. That's when I landed the opportunity to work for some of the most beloved American brands, and really just understanding what do big brands do when it comes to brand strategy, brand communication, packaging, positioning, and actually scaling. And that's when I finally figured out what their secret sauce is and decided to sort of guide and mentor emerging CEOs and give them the tools and the tactics they need in order to scale. And that's what created my consulting company. So literally just leveraging the big brand strategies and teaching the emerging strategies what they need, emerging companies what they need to do in order to scale.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, congratulations. I mean, that I'm sure there were a lot of interesting things that happened to you along that journey, and things you had to bust through to make it happen, and moving across the world to build your dream and build this company. So congratulations on all of that. So interesting. So your parents were entrepreneurs. So you grew up in this entrepreneur household.
Yes.
And then you saw them, it sounds like, hitting some financial
plateau.
blocks.
They plateaued completely for a period of 3 years.
And you and I were just talking about that, and how that, that's definitely something that we see with our clients, you see with your clients. So when you were growing your own company and thinking about that and starting to work with your other clients, do you remember when you had that big breakthrough in income, or when you realized like, oh, this isn't like, I mean, you probably knew it the whole time. You're like, I'm going to make this company very successful. Where your annual income became your monthly income, or we just got to that next level. Do you remember that moment where you're like, okay, I'm making it, something great is happening right now?
I think for me, it hit me when I was able to replace my corporate salary with my business. That's when I was like, okay, this is actually real. Like literally you're paying yourself what you used to be paid and still have the freedom that you never had before, because I was used to working 70-hour weeks. Like that was just the position I was in a management position. And now come over into my business and I'm like, wow, my company can pay me and I'm able to impact clients, but at the same time, just be free, take PTO on my own dime. That's when I was like, we've done it.
That's the best, right? Like I'm just taking Friday off because I feel like it.
Yeah.
There's nothing, so I was talking to somebody the other day, and one of my mentors, and he's like, you're the exact person that I'd love to hire for my company. And I heard him saying that. He was kind of half joking, but half like, yeah, of course. Like, who doesn't, when you have sales and marketing experience, people like you, right? They want to hire you. And so we're chatting for a moment, and I said to him, I said, there's no amount of money you could pay me. There's just not, that I would leave what I know in my company. And it was a good moment for me. And he just laughed. He didn't care. He knew I wasn't going to come work for him, but it was just that moment of like, just no. All right. So as you've moved through the growth of your company and you've worked with other clients, what are some of the biggest myths about money and revenue that you've had to overcome?
Oh, that it's hard to make money.
Okay, let's talk about that. That comes up a lot on the show. Tell me, let's go there.
So personally, for me, I grew up with the conditioning and the belief system that it's actually hard to make money. And for me, it's palpable because I grew up seeing poverty. I've grown up seeing people not eat, not pay rent, not be able to do anything. So the hustle and grind, like you literally have to do multiple jobs to make an income. And then coming in the US as an immigrant, most immigrants here who don't come, most immigrants here end up having like 2 to 3 jobs.
Sure.
So around my ecosystem, it's like, it's hard to make money. You need 2 to 3 jobs, and then come and run your business. And it just feels strange not having to grind, because people are paying you for your value. You're not doing, it's not an exchange of time to get paid. It's more of how can you articulate your value so that people can understand and be willing to pay you what you state.
Right.
So that perspective shift took me almost 18 months. And before I switched my mindset, I could see my income wasn't being, wasn't increasing. Why? Because I was pricing by the hour. I had lower price ticket offers. And I was just literally selling packages as they come, instead of selling a complete transformation and really articulating what the value is to the audience so that they can see themselves and aspire to be part of that experience. So that's number one. That's the number one thing I would say. The second thing that I had to break through was the concept of investing. Like spending money, if it's so hard to spend money when you don't actually have it or you've never seen it. So for me to break into this space, I had to use a credit card to pay my first mentor. I never had debt. I come from a society where it's a cash economy. If you don't have money, if you're not going to be able to access anything. And so debt is such a taboo. It's like, no, you can never incur debt. How are you going to pay for it? And now come here and I'm realizing that I had a money rule where if I don't have the cash on hand, I'm not going to do it. But in order to create what I've created, with all honesty, if you look at my brand, I had to break that money rule by putting my first investment on a Discover credit card. And so just really understanding that there's a difference between spending and there's a difference between investing, and also really understanding the wealth mindset and the scarcity mindset, because the wealth mindset, majority of the people invest to earn, while the scarcity mindset, majority of the people want to save to spend.
Right.
And so those are the two things that honestly, when I look back, just literally have helped me become who I am today and create what I've been able to create, but more importantly, impact the businesses I've been able to impact.
Yeah. Okay, good. Let's unpack that a little bit. So you said, I kind of chuckled when you said it only took me, or no, it took me 18 months. It took 18 months. I think it took me like 20 years. I don't know, like some of it. So it's amazing that you made what I would call a quantum leap in a very short amount of time. You and I even chat a lot about my background. I grew up on a farm, and it was a small family farm. Like it was enough. We were blessed in the sense it was enough to eat, right? But there was never enough money. And the belief was that like there was just never enough money. And a lot of like, who are you to want to have a business, that kind of stuff. So a lot of unpacking. So how did you unpack this? So like, I would say so quickly, you might feel like, oh, it took me forever. Were you found mentors? Were you reading books? Like, you strike me as someone who's probably always learning. So like, what did you do?
I had a mentor that really helped me navigate this, but I always say a mentor will help you, but the vast majority of the transformation comes from the work that you're actually doing. So for me, I would constantly, and I still do it today, is I question my truth. Like I question what I'm believing. So I have this whiteboard where I write what's true and what's untrue. And the untruth here was that it's hard to make money. And so I started asking myself, why do I believe this? Where did this come from? Is it really hard to make money? What if it was so easy to make money? What would that look like? How would I be operating? What are some of the things I would be doing? And so just really journaling and trying to identify what it truly feels like to be the person who can get money with ease and can receive money easily. Because my goal, and one thing I have learned over the past few years I've been doing this thing, is you only create results from the person you want to become. So if you want to become a 7-figure CEO, literally you have to sit down and write, how does she make decisions? What is she wearing? What does she do in the morning? And live in that identity. like literally leaving that identity. And so every day you're working towards approaching that person, and then eventually you become that person. So I really started working on, so that's the first thing I started doing. And then the second thing that I actually had no idea of was, because I had the hustle and grind mentality, I was undercharging myself, underpricing every single thing. And one question my mentor asked me is, when you're undercharging, who are you stealing from?
Ooh, that's so good.
And I was like, I'm stealing from myself. And he was like, are you a thief? I'm like, I've never been a thief. So why are you stealing from yourself? And that was like, this is it.
We just have to take a moment of silence for that one, Maureen, because that's everyone like that, like just float around in that for a moment, because I know some of you who are listening and others of you who've been listening for a while. I mean, check in, like, did that just hit you somewhere? Because if you're feeling like, you're not charging enough, you're actually stealing from yourself.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so for you, that was a big moment. That was when you're like, I'm not afraid anymore to charge what I know I'm worth.
That minute when he told me, I remember it was a Wednesday at 12 Central Time. I changed my prices and I was like, this is it. Because if I'm stealing from myself, then how am I going to create impact?
Right. Oh my gosh. So when you changed your prices, tell us what happened.
So I grew into that identity. Like I was, I'm the kind of person where I'm going to change my price and step into that identity and learn how to sell that price.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people want to feel confident in their pricing, but unfortunately, you're not going to be confident. You're not going to feel confident because your brain has no frame of reference of what it looks like to sell at a particular price point. So you really have to rely on your belief that you can do it, not your ability.
Right, right.
And so I just lean into self-confidence. It's what's keeping me in business. It's what's helping me weather the dips. And it's what's helping me just become the person I eventually want to become. It's a journey. Nobody gets there. I know when I want to get to that level, I want to be somebody else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So good. So much more about being who you're being that person that it's really future pacing. From NLP, neuro linguistic programming. You talk about like, stepping into that future version and pulling and like, what would she do and how would she be different? It's interesting too, just this so powerful, all the times that we've increased our pricing or shifted our packages shortly after someone has shown up, right? Like the person has shown up and there's this belief, like we have to work on our beliefs about what's possible for us, right? And who we're being. So much about that. So for our listeners everywhere, Maureen, what are your top 2 tips for busting through an income ceiling? So if someone's been stuck for a while, like what could help them, or what have you seen with your clients that's really helped them get there?
I'd say number one, the one foundational rule for success that I've seen work over and over again is taking radical responsibility for the result for the results that you want to create. I say this because oftentimes whenever we don't create our results, we blame something. And the minute you blame something, you've actually relinquished your power. So the power is no longer with you, it's with somebody else. And every time you give the power to somebody else, you're playing victim. But at the end of the day, in order to create what you want, you have to take radical responsibility. And how you do that is focusing on what you want, not what you don't want. Because the more you focus on what you don't want, the universe conspires to bring that as evidence and as proof and try to get you out of the game. And I say this because I see it a lot of times where you don't believe in your pricing. And this also happens with product-based businesses. They know they need to change their pricing so that they can be able to get into multiple channels, but they're like, nobody's going to buy me. Immediately you're going to manifest somebody who's going to tell you your price is expensive. And it's just because you focused on that. So the universe is bringing you this to prove it. But if you focused on staying in the energy of what you want and taking radical responsibility for every result, then you get into a point where you ask yourself, what do I need to do right now to create what it is that I want? So you're constantly in the energy and the momentum of taking action.
Yes.
And then the second thing is really celebrating all your wins. celebrating all your wins so that you can be able to create another win.
Yes.
Because I know for myself and for my clients and for many women and particularly, we struggle to celebrate ourselves. And so if you've constantly been conditioned that anytime you make a win, it's not enough, you're going to now beat yourself down and be in the state of trying again to get another win. But if you're trying again to get another win, your brain doesn't know what it means to celebrate. So you cannot even attract another win. You're just going to constantly be in that loop, the up and down movement, and you're constantly frustrated. So those are the two things I would say, because if you can take your power back, then you know and you understand every result lies within you, not your mentor, not your coach, not your team members. Everything lies inside of you.
Such a great reminder. So, and the way you say it is so just beautiful, because I can tell you've lived this, right?
Yeah.
And taking radical responsibility, sometimes that's a tough one, you know, and I've had, you know, in our world of coaching, I mean, sometimes people get stuck, right? So I know in the world of coaching, it's like people are going to hit walls, or they're not going to be super coachable. And it's hard sometimes to say, like, you got to look in the mirror. Like the good news is, the bad news is that it's you. The good news is that it's you. The bad news is that it's me. The good news is it's me, because I can change me. I can change me all day long. I can't control anybody else. So it's just that reminder. And celebrating wins, definitely. I like what you said about how it then really anchors in. It sounds like it anchors into your system and your cells. So that's what you're looking for next.
Yes.
And you get out of the loop of the next win, where it's like, oh, I'm celebrating this win because I know more are coming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, cool. So many things. We can talk about so many things. I want to make sure. I know what I wanted to ask you, because you talk a lot about law of attraction, energy, frequency. What's your, like, do you have a morning practice or a daily practice that, or anything you do during the week that helps you stay in this frequency, energy?
For me, it's meditation, journaling, and prayer. Like, I have plans on my phone where the first thing I do in the morning, I wake up, I read my Bible meditation, I journal on that. What does that look like for me every single day? And then, because I'm in a phase, the season in which I am in my business is hyper growth, I'm just constantly surrounding myself with like music and messaging that just uplifts me. I'm the kind of person who, if you tell me something negative, I'm going to block you.
Yes.
Not because I hate you or anything, just because I cannot contain that, knowing that we as CEOs carry a lot of weight on our shoulders. And so any small thing can actually throw you off the game. So I'm just really learning how to protect my energy, but to actually honor my boundaries. Because that's one thing I never had. I was the kind of person, let's go here, let's go. Let's do this. The yes person. Now I'm learning to say no multiple times before I say a yes.
Yes. So good. So good. Yes, I'm with you. Just anything that's going to move my day in a bad direction, it's not necessary. And I think about all the time, like, how can I create more boundaries around my space to maintain that energy? And I think that's so important. And I don't think people who aren't CEOs don't realize how much we have to like work on mindset to stay in this space. I mean, especially when the world is, we're just living through a very interesting time. There's so much, like, if you turn on the news, like, I don't even know how many negative statements you're going to get, or fear-based statements, or scarcity you're going to get within a minute. And so it's a great reminder.
And for me, I just realized that I still have to show up. No matter what's happening, you still have to show up. I can only show up when I've protected myself. Yeah. Because if I don't protect myself with things shut down, my team can help, but there's some things that you're so good at doing that you're just like, you know what, let me show up and talk to my community. Those are the things that make me do what I do. And also, I know I've done this over and over again. It's a mindset game. It's not a strategy game. Many of us know what we need to implement. There's a reason why you're not implementing it.
Right.
So
working on that for sure. Working on that. Work on your head first. Stay in the space you stand. Before we wrap up, I'm super curious, and I know we have clients who probably have product-based businesses and others who are just curious about what you do. So how do you work with your clients? How do you help them grow their product-based businesses?
So the first thing we end up doing is really just developing the brand secret sauce. What does that look like? Dialing in their pricing, their positioning, their packaging, so we can determine if they have competitive advantage, given the fact that now it's a highly saturated market. So what's that secret sauce that you have, and are you conveying it in all your assets, particularly your pricing? Because if we don't develop a strong pricing architecture, we're going to have cash flow issues. It's going to be really hard for you to reorder inventory, build a team, and scaling just becomes so hard.
Yeah.
The second thing we actually do is really focus on building a brand obsession, and really building a brand obsession centers around how do we create magnetic messaging that allows you to continue reeling in more of the right customers, but more importantly, continue to drive repeat sales so you can create a community around your brand. One thing we have to understand, product-based businesses thrive very well if they can grow by word of mouth. That is how community is built. If you can grow repeat sales, if you can continue nurturing your community, it's easy for you to scale, mainly because the costs of running a product-based business are much higher than a service. You have inventory costs, you have marketing costs. So my goal is, how can we reduce the upfront costs by making sure we build a community that allows you to scale? I think about it like Kim K. Like Kim K launches a skincare product, everybody's there.
Right.
So how do we create that? The third thing that we focus on doing is maximizing your sales. What does that look like? Tackling strategic ways to help you grow your business, mainly because majority of product-based businesses only think about customer acquisition. But there are two primary ways that many of them forget: retention, reclaiming old customers, but also how can we continue to innovate and grow your brand past the first launch? You know, and then the last thing is, how do we create your infrastructure for scaling, in the sense that you don't have to work more hours or do more? So that's how we help our product-based businesses. And I particularly work with anybody who's done at least 100K and is looking to get to 500K and then 700K, because that foundation needs to be set first before scaling.
Got it. Yes. I'm so glad you said that, because I was going to ask, like, who's a perfect client for you? I know you have a free gift for our listeners. So for someone who has a product-based business around 100K or more that wants to grow, what do you have for them?
So two things. The first thing, you can hop on a free consultation with me. Just book a call and let me know you listen to this podcast. You can find me at bit.ly/book my PPL chat. I'll say that again, bit.ly/book my PPL chat, or come to Instagram, send me a DM at Maureen Mwangi official. Maureen Mwangi official, and we'll put all that in the show notes.
Yes, beautiful. Well, thank you for that. And I want to give you the final word. So maybe there's something you didn't get to share yet, or something you want to say to CEOs that are growing product-based businesses. What's your final word that you want to put out there, Maureen?
Trust yourself.
Ooh.
Trust yourself. And if you want what my acronym means, total reliance upon spiritual timing. So if things are not happening right now, just know the timing is not right, but also look inside and ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? And just know it's coming. So just keep trusting yourself, one foot in front of the other, and you'll eventually get there.
Trust yourself and know it's coming. Awesome. Maureen Mwangi, thanks for hanging out with us today on the Quantum Revenue Expansion podcast. We wish you so much success over the next year and the year after that and the year after that. And just thanks for being a blessing to the world. I know I can feel your faith and I can feel what you bring to the world. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. And for our listeners all over the world, we love you. If you have a guest or you think of a topic, you can contact us at contact@ursulainc.co, and we'd love to hear from you. That's it for this week, everybody. Take care. Have a blessed week. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. And if you are ready to make your next quantum leap, let's do it. Ursula invites you to join us at the 2X Intensive. Go to salescoachnow.com/apply. Don't forget to leave us a review on your favorite podcast app.